So Olivia, over to you.
Okay, hi everyone, nice to virtually meet you. I'm going to start with sharing my screen. So today's session is all about our content templates. So it's one of my favorite kind of templates to use with Flourish. So we'll be going into them and some of the premium templates as well. So it'll be really fun. And I can send all these slides after as well. So you'll have the links to each of the content-based templates. Okay, so today I'm just going to give you a quick Flourish overview. We're going to look at the cards template, the quiz template, the photo slider, the text annotator template, the SVG annotator, a really cool 3D model viewer, a draw the line template, and then I will end with showing you some really useful resources that can help you on your Flourish journey. So here's a Flourish overview. Why use Flourish? Well, Flourish is a next generational tool for exploring and explaining data. It's really useful to turn large data sets into visible stories. We have a range of chart types. So you've probably seen all of the kind of numeric and like bar charts that we have, the maps, but today we're going to dive a bit deeper into the quizzes that we have, the photo sliders, all of those ones where we can really kind of show more than just numeric data. So I'm going to start with the cards template. In the cards template, you can create a carousel of grid of cards to visualize blocks of content. The cards are one of my favorite templates that we have. So it's perfect for displaying blocks of content with descriptions and more information. So as you can see here, you can include images and have filters on each of them. There's different customization options, including different card layout options, view modes, and you can even use customizable HTML if that's something that you are known how to do, if you know how to code. And we also have the option where you can add interactive features such as collapsible descriptions and hover descriptions. I've included links here where you can go to our help docs just to see how to do that. But if you are into coding or would like to kind of have a bit of a go at coding, this could be a really useful template to begin with. So I will head over to the cards template. So this is one that I've created previously. To go to the just to show you how you would get to the cards template, you would press the new visualization, scroll down, and then you will see the cards here. And it's really useful because it already has 3 starting points with a carousel, a grid, and a profile. So you can kind of pick which one would be most useful, but don't feel then that if you created a grid and you wanted to go to a carousel, you would be able to just change that. So I will show you now how to do that. So to import your data, you can upload your data here just by clicking that and then choosing your spreadsheet CSV file, double clicking it, and then it will upload into your data sheet. So I'll just quickly show you here. I'm just going to drag and drop it as well, which is another option. So you can drag it, and you'll probably want to overwrite the current sheet just because all of our templates have starting points, which you've probably noticed. So you'll just want to kind of overwrite that with your new data that you want. So I'm going to upload this, and now we have our data in here. Obviously it's exactly the same, so it doesn't look much different. And then we're going to bind our columns to the relevant column binding. So we want our title to be in the A column. Well, we don't need to. So if our title was in C, we could enter that there and it would change within the preview. That's how you can know whether you're doing everything right. You can just look in this little preview option and you can see if the changes you're making are accurate. So my title column is A, so I'm going to enter A. We've also uploaded images. To upload images into Flourish, you can right click on a cell and you can press upload file, and then you can choose a file from your documents. Alternatively, you can have a link online. So for example, I've used links in this case. So if I click on here, that's just from Wikipedia or Wikimedia, sorry. And that's essentially just pulling that in because it hasn't got a password barrier or any kind of security blocking access to that image. Flourish can just pull that in and display it on our cards. But if I was to save the image, I'll just quickly save it here. I'll just quickly show you how you would upload it. So I will upload file, go into my downloads, and it will then upload that into there. So that is now from our documents onto Flourish. You can then add categories as well onto your cards template. So for example, on mine, I added, because we're looking at the 10 best treks in the world. I'm not a hiker at all. I just find it very interesting. I added where each of the hikes were located in continent kind of ways. And so with the region, I wanted to categorize by that. So then when we click on the cards, we can see which hike is where, kind of just makes it a bit easier for a viewer. I also added a subtitle in, which is where the hike actually is, and you can see that pulling through in this section here. And finally, I added some additional text into my template, and that was just the number of days it takes to walk each hike. Very, very long, but I can also add an additional one here. So I could also add when they're open as well, and I will pop that open there as when they are open, the hikes, trails. So you can have multiple columns in that one. Additionally, if you do have kind of a project where audio would be necessary, you can also add audio files. So similar to how I uploaded this image, you would add a new column. So I've just right-clicked there, and I'm going to insert a column to the left, audio, and then I would just upload file once again by right-clicking, then finding my audio file and double-clicking on that, and then popping that in there. And then I would bind that column to the audio column. So going back to our preview editor now, we can see that all of that has entered the data where we want it. As I mentioned before, if you did choose, for example, the grid starting point, you don't have to worry because you can change them very easily just in this view section here in the cards template settings panel. So I'm going to keep it as a carousel, but you can change between them, and then you can also change the kind of carousel row, whether it has the pause button, how that displays, the duration of the autoplay, whether it loops, all sort of things like that. Additionally, so you can have, we have different card layouts, so you can choose it as a portrait. So we have the image above the text instead, and then additionally you can change that whether you want the title above it, and the title and subtitle, many different options, and you can also have it landscape, which can be really useful if you want to kind of, if you have longer images. I'm going to keep it as an image overlay for now. You can also change the width of your cards. So if I wanted to make them a bit bigger, it will make it like that. And it also adjusts the height as well while you do it. So they don't look really odd when you change the width. You can also add padding on there as well. So I could like add 3 and it will make the padding a bit bigger at the top, stuff like that. I'm going to pop that back to 0. Additional styling and margin options here. Where the customizable card comes in is in this section here. So if you are familiar with coding, this will look kind of normal. If you're not, don't worry. I've just literally yesterday did a webinar on the advanced cards, and I kind of break it down a lot easier. Because it can be quite daunting. Like when I started Flourish, I was so overwhelmed by this. I was like, what do I do? So I have got a webinar that we did yesterday, and it was recorded, and I have the slides, so I can include that in a follow-up email for you if you are interested in really kind of getting into the nitty-gritty and designing these cards how you like. You can then change the text within the text option. I think I just made the title a bit bigger and the subtitles and stuff like that. And you can also change like the position of them, so you can put them at the top or the bottom, stuff like that. The image, you can change like the aspect ratio, so you can fill it a bit more if you wanted to. I'm just going to keep it back. Oh, not 125, a bit much. There we go, I'll keep it at 1.25. A border, you can also have the option to have a blend mode. So this is usually off. So this is how the images would usually pop up. So I clicked on the advanced, and I then wanted to kind of add like an overlay of the images just so it kind of blends and you can see the text a bit more. You can have normal, lighten, you can do all things like that. I'm going to keep it as overlay for now. The colours, this is where the palette comes from. So as I mentioned, if you click on one of these, it will show where each of the hikes are, which in continent they are in. And this can be really useful, and kind of if you had a large data set, people would be able to see where each continent, where each hike was in which continent. And the way we have these coloured is by, with the card, we have it set to data. Oh, it's the image, sorry. So because we're using an image, obviously, we have each of the images pulling in those colours. So if we turn that off, and we can also add a fixed colour. So if we wanted all of them to appear the same, we could make it like a red, but I want to keep it with the data because we have that category, and I think it just works really nicely with that. We also then just have all the other standard settings that you see in all of our other templates. So we have like the legend, and you can disable and click and change that. The layout, I just changed the font and the background colours, stuff like that. I'm not going to go too deeply into that because we just have got quite a lot of templates to show, but if you did want to kind of go deeper into that, we can kind of organise another session for that. But I feel like most of you will know what all of those other settings are. I do see the kind of box popping up. Are the questions being asked? Is Anna? Yes, perfect, thank you. Okay, so next template I will go on to is the quiz template. The quiz template is a really awesome template which allows readers to answer multiple choice and numerical questions, and then they compare their data sets to an underlying data set. It can really engage audiences by allowing them to interact with your data. You can create your own feedback responses and add personality to your data. I will show you an example in a moment where we kind of really added some kind of personality into this example. You can add your theming and images to create the perfect on-brand quiz for the users, so it can really match with your website and wherever you post this quiz. And you can also create end results so that people can see how well or bad that they did. So I will just show you our example of this one. The data set is quite extensive, so I will go into it. I'm just taking a sip of water because hay fever has really come upon me. So there we go. Okay, so once again, I'm going to start on the data tab. So here you will see that unlike the quiz template, we have a couple of other sections and kind of sheets as you would in Excel. So I'll go through each of them individually. So to begin with, we have the questions tab. The question tab is where you will post this data. So what is Iowa? Technically speaking, and then your multiple choice questions. So the way that this works is you can type in your question, then the description. So that technically speaking is the description. Then we have an input type, and in the input type, we have different ones. So you can have a slider or a multiple choice question. And then we will put the correct answer in here just so that the template will know what answer is correct. And then the multiple choice options, so that is where these are all being pulled in, where people can pick from. And these all work like that, so people can keep choosing. They haven't got to like whichever one they've picked, that's the final one, they have to then submit it. Then the feedback, so I'm going to put, I actually can't remember what the answer was, I was kind of just overlooking it. I promise I didn't know that. I promise I don't know Iowa at all. But it's fine because I've answered the most basic question correctly and I didn't know that. Right, so the feedback, this is where that is being pulled from, this bit here. And so because we put our correct answer there, it knows the correct answer. And then we have the question name, so it links to row 2. So it knows that question 2 is going to apply to this one. And so these are each of our multiple choice. Oops, we have each of our multiple choices here. And then the text is what it will then feed back to us. So if I was to just refresh this and essentially not cheat, I guess, if I put a county, it will put nah, just because it's not the right answer. And that's being pulled back from the feedback because the US county, we put the text as nah. You can also additionally add media onto this. So if you wanted to include a GIF, because I know quite a lot of places include GIFs onto their quizzes, just to kind of make it a bit more fun and interactive, you can add those there as well. And the end result, so after all your user has answered all of the answers, you will then want to kind of give them a point system. So if they answered 0 to 2 answers correctly, so if they got none or 2 answers correct, it will pop up with, you're not from around here, are you? And then have a media. So if I just quickly, I have no idea of any of these questions. I was definitely way off. Nope. Capital city of Iowa. Nope. You can tell I'm British, so that's a good thing. There's no patriotism here. What's the state song? I'm gonna go I Love You, Iowa. Nope. This is a pretty long quiz on Iowa. I didn't realize there was so much to know. Oh my gosh. Okay, there we go. So yeah, I actually am. So that is how that would work. So I got 0 to 2 answers correct, and so I'm definitely not from around here, and we just included the GIF there to kind of add some personality to it. Similarly to the cards template, it all is done with column bindings, and that is how the data kind of, how the template pulls in all them answers and replies. So we have the text, which is our question. We have our explanation of the question on the B, and the input type. So it gives you, if you click on this little question mark, it will just kind of tell you what you can choose between, because this is how Flourish will know what question you want to kind of give. So you have the choice of 2, which is the multiple choice in the slider. We then have the answers and the slider input suffix. So this is if they need a percentage afterwards, after like a value or something. So we would include that. I don't really think it applies to us, so that's why we have left it blank. And then if you have the multiple choice, you will then just have the multiple choice options in that section. With a little space between them, the forward slash, is that one? I think that's that symbol. It gives you examples here, so if you are confused with any of them, just click the little question mark, and it gives you an example of what you need to include. Similarly, the feedback, it uses the column bindings, so the question, the answer, the text and media if you're using that, the points range, the text and the media. You will already have, so I'm just going to use the World Bank group. So it will have your branding on this now. So when you create it, it will automatically have this on there for you. But yeah, so this has this. You can change the design, so like which the user inputs. So if I want to change this to like a lighter blue, that's what the user chose. So that's the color it will highlight it. Neutral, that's just how it displays normally. And the correct, obviously we've kind of chosen green, but if you want to go against design usuals, you can choose a different color. The text we have, I mean, it's just standard, I believe, but if I changed this one to red, yeah, so the question will change to the red one. We can change the color, the size of the text as well, and the border color. This is what's surrounding it. Oh, odd. I'm actually not too sure what the border color will be then. Very strange. Anyway, the block, okay, I'm guessing this is what will change the color of that. Yep. And so that will change the background of the color. And borders, you can enable the shadow on this. So I'm going to just change that back to white, so because you can't really see the shadow. So here you can see the shadow going on and off. That kind of adds a bit of depth. The submit button as well. So I'm just going to quickly refresh this just because we can't see this submit button anymore. So here we have the submit button. So I'm just going to click that. We can change that, the color of the text here. So I'm going to make it red. There we go. The slider, once again, you can change the design of how that looks. Similarly to how we just changed the question answers. The multiple choice, we can change that here as well. Scoring, so you can enable a drop-down setting on that. The end result as well, so you can tell your users thank you for taking the quiz. The text and translation, the number formatting, and once again, these are all similar ones that you will have seen in our other templates. So That is where you will change your layout, the background color of the template, add a header, add a footer, all things like that. Oh, I see a question. Actually, I'm going to continue because we have got a lot of slides, so Anna will answer that one for you. Okay, so that is our quiz template. Really useful, really fun as well. Even if you kind of wanted to do it, not particularly for a project as such, but if you wanted to have, maybe if you have work drinks, you could create a nice quiz about all of the people that work there and stuff. I feel like we don't use it enough here at Flourish, so I feel like I might ask people if we can do it more. Right, so I'm going to go on to our next template, which is the photo slider. The photo slider compares before and after photos. It's a perfect way to show differences between 2 points in time. So in this example here, it's kind of cut off, but I will find this example for you. It basically shows air traffic from a year from 2019 compared to 2020. So obviously with COVID and the restrictions. And so you can see that in April, it was incredible with the air traffic, and then it went to pretty much nothing. So as you can see here, you have the ability to include GIFs and standard image types such as JPEGs, PNGs. You can also download images from your visualizations that you have created in Flourish to show the transitions over time. That's an example that I've used. I've used images from a visualization I created. And we also have different modes, which I will show you right now. So on this one, it's a bit different. We don't even have a data tab just because there is no data being pulled in. Alternatively, we have photo uploads here. And so we have just uploaded our image here. So I'm just going to, if I just click that in there, save the image again, just so I can kind of take you step by step into that. The little zoom boxes are very annoying. They seem to be everywhere. Okay. So very similar to the cards template, we're going to upload our photo 1 in here. So that will be that second one that we just did. And then, oh no, it won't be. It'll be that one, I believe. Yeah, okay. And then similarly for the photo 2, you will just upload it like that and upload the image from your files. You can then also add a smaller version for mobile. So then if I just swatch those there, when we go smaller onto a mobile template, it will then adapt to the mobile, just so, and then we will upload, oh, I see. So we will then, I think this will already, so you can resize your photo ratio to 500 pixels and it will show that. So I'm just going to go back into our normal view. So this is the different modes that I mentioned. So we do have a fade option. So when you click on it, they fade. You may hear my dogs barking now. I do apologize for that. So when users would click on the image, it would fade from the first photo to the second photo. We also have a spotlight one. This works a lot better for kind of darker images. On this one, it doesn't particularly work, but as you can see, when I slide over it, it then goes on to the kind of color that it is on the first one. And here, because it's already, so because that color is the same, 1 second. Very odd, there we go. Because that color was the same on the spotlight, it didn't change, so that's how people would know that they're the same. With the slider settings, you can change them. So we could change the handle to be a bit bigger if you wanted just people to know that that is what that is intended to do. They are intended to slide it. You could also add an image onto that slider as well. So if you wanted 2 arrows kind of pointing outwards, you could have the arrows pointing outwards. I'm going to stick with the color because I don't really have an image that I could choose. I will change that to red if I wanted to. And the slider line, so we can make this line thicker if you wanted to as well. Just really make it obvious to your user that that is what you need to do. Once again, we have the same options that you can choose. So we can add this as a title to our header, and everything like that that you would do in a normal, one of our other templates. But these are kind of the settings that are particular for this one. I should mention as well, on any of these templates, you can always check what it will look like on different devices by clicking on these little bits here. So you can preview using like a desktop width, then you can look at a tablet width, a mobile width, and even if you know a custom size that you may want to view it as, you can enter that there. And you can also preview in a full window. And with the full window preview, this is how it will look when you are embedding your visualization. So it'll pop up there. So I'm going to have another sip of water. I don't know whether you guys know this as well, but if you did want to duplicate any of your visualizations as well, you can do that here. You can press duplicate and it then will create an exact version. This is really useful for if you want to make changes but not change the original one, because you can't really undo changes that you make with Flourish. So if you do want to kind of experiment with anything, just make sure that you do duplicate it so your original version is still there. I'll quickly show you as well, just to kind of export a visualization. You will click on this little export and publish, and it will publish this visualization. You can require a password to open it if you wish, and then you can publish it. And then you have your different script embed options. So we have the recommended one, because it will match the height of the container it is in. IMP, that is particularly for Google Sheets, for Google kind of web pages. This one we don't particularly use at all. And the iframe, similarly, you can embed that anywhere as well. And then you can also see on the preview page just how your visualization will look. Okay, I just kind of wanted to go over that a little bit, just in case anybody is very new to Flourish and maybe didn't know about those. So next I'm going to go on to the text annotator, which is a really, really fun template. So it gives an extra layer of context to speeches and other content. So when we created this one, it was just that Joe Biden had been elected as president, and it was in his inauguration. And so we created this little text annotator, which I will go on to in a second. So this template is a premium template. You can easily add new annotations onto a sentence or a word. You can select from different annotation styles, and you can also select different layout alignments. Because these are premium templates, you won't see them, for example. So when I click new visualization, you won't find text annotator here. Whereas with, for example, the photo slider, the cards, and the quiz, you will find all of those here. But with the text annotator and any ones that I say are premium, you won't find them here. But in the slides, I've included links to the starting point, so you'll have access to them all. So back to the fun part. So we have our text annotator example here, and I'm just going to switch over to the data tab. Which is where all the kind of magic happens. And so when you have a, for example, we used a speech, and we have just copied and pasted all of our speech into this text box here. I'm going to just change this to yours. Here we go. And so we've imported our speech text into this text box here. And so that's what is now being displayed here. When we go over to our data tab, then if you have made a note of what text you want to be highlighted, and then the annotation that you want to pop up when we click on it. I did turn my notifications off. I'm very, 1 second, let me just quit that. There we go. So the text will, sorry, that completely threw me off a little bit. So you'll put the text that you want to have annotated there, and then we will put in the annotation that we want when it is clicked on here. And similarly, we will have the column bindings here. So we will have the text, which is within this part here. And then we will also have the annotation in column B, but they can be switched around. Just make sure the column bindings are that. Also make sure that the text is the exact same as in here. So for example, if I added like in, I don't know why I would, but when I click on, if I don't have it exactly right, that annotation is now gone. And this is just because Flourish kind of can't make for mistakes, if you know what I mean. So if the data is not correct, it won't know what to pull in. So I'm just going to take that in back, and then it realizes, oh, I can see that in this text. So I'm going to now highlight that. Onto the fun part. So when we click on this, it will pop up with this annotation. And the annotation is now being pulled in because we have column bound it to that. And so now that is popping up here. We can change all of these kind of stylings. So with the highlight color, we've just added this purple, but we can change it to a nice dark green. Oh, I actually really like that color. We can also change the size of the font. We can add it to the left align or the center align. It won't particularly go to the right align just because this is where all of the annotations can pop up if we have it in a different layout, which I will show in a second. With the highlighting as well, so we can change whether it's like a background highlight, whether it's hand drawn, which will then you can change with how many lines or iterations it has. I'm just going to keep it as 2. Oh, what was it on? 3? Okay. You can make it that the highlight type is just the text color that changes, and you can also have it underlined really neatly. I think the hand drawn looks really nice sometimes. I don't know, I guess it's just because I'm quite a messy person, so I like it when things aren't particularly perfect. You can then change the hand drawn types to a circle, and you can change it to a highlight, so it just looks like that. In a box, and once again, you can change them iterations or the thickness. And the underline as well. And you can also change how so for example, it's not rounded on the ends anymore, it's straight. Little things like this I just think are really fun and kind of adds an extra layer onto them. The annotation styling, so this is where we can kind of add it as a side panel instead. And so this is where kind of the left align comes into play. So if I click on democracy, if I click on our annotation link, it will now appear on the right side. So, or if we had the inline blocks, that's where it would pop up. We can also have the option that it will always show. So for example, if you do have not that many annotations, having it always on might actually be quite a nice little feature, just because then it kind of means that people haven't got to click on it and do things themselves. Because some people can be lazy sometimes. I am. So this could maybe just make it a bit easier for them. The note content, this is so this is what is pulling in the annotations. So you don't really need to mess with that. I never really change that when I'm using this template, so we just can keep it as that. Or I guess if we could put like this is an annotation, I'm guessing this will just appear before the annotation. Yeah, there we go. So if you did have some additional text that you maybe wanted to enter which would appear on every single annotation, you could enter that there. The mobile mode as well. So for example, as I showed you before, we have the ability to look at what it looks like on mobile. You can then change it so it looks like an overlay panel. And we can click on click again, and it will appear like that. Mobile mode, if you press none, it will just appear on the side, and the inline blocks, it will appear underneath. And once again, you can change like the text color of the annotation in this little box to change the text color of the text content, which is there. You would change it here, and the highlight color, obviously, it changes there. I'm going to move those back to black. I'll keep that as that. Then once again, we have the exact same settings as you would on all of our other templates. So we have the layout, the background colors, everything like that. Okay, so as I mentioned, I've included these links here. I did just also want to quickly let you know as well, if you do have any issues with any of these templates, you can always click this little speech bubble. Immediately it will show the different help documents that we have on these templates, and we do have quite a few. At the moment, I don't think we have any on the premium templates as such, just because we've only realized recently that we can make them so they appear privately. And so we are working on upping our premium template help documents. So if there is a particular question on any of our premium templates, you can just email us, and we usually respond within a few hours. We're quite quick on the support front. So yeah. Okay, next one. We have the SVG annotator, which can bring any SVG file to life. And so the SVG annotator is a premium template, so I've included the link here for you. With the SVG annotator, you can group layers of SVGs and export with the IDs. I will quickly show you how to do that in a moment. You can access the IDs, which are in the SVGs in the template, and then you can configure the text and other HTML content that goes within the SVGs. So Helena, who works alongside me on support and content, she created this beautiful little example of our SVG annotator. And so I'll just quickly show you what you can do with the SVG annotator and then kind of go into depth on how this all works. So you can include text in the SVG annotator. So if I go over to the data tab, we have included the ID of text. So I think this would be easier actually if I just quickly show you this. So I'm going to get that image. Okay, so I'm going to inspect this. Will it work? Yes, perfect. Okay, so with SVGs, they're a bit different to PNGs and JPEGs and other image files like that. There's a really useful app called Figma, where you can trace over images and make them SVGs if you don't have an SVG. So for example, this was one we was working with Heathrow Airport, and I wanted this JPEG to become an SVG so I could use this template. And essentially all I did was draw little boxes over the terminals. And then I gave them little names by just double clicking them and giving them the names that are relevant. And then when you export them, you can click on this little button here. So I want to export it as an SVG. You want to include the ID attribute, and the ID attribute, so if I go back to Helena's wonderful example, this is those IDs. Some SVGs might already have the ID is perfect, so you might not even need to do that. But if there is an SVG that you don't really know the IDs of, you can just pull it into Figma, and it can usefully give you kind of the ID here, and you can change them to maybe help you a bit more. So these IDs are grouped to each of our little segments. And with these IDs, when we go back to our template, which is all the way here, those IDs are being pulled in here. So we have column bound that to the ID. So this knows, okay, that's the SVG ID, and so we know that the text one is. So we know that the text is the text ID. The inspector's just gone very funny now, so I'm just going to close it, you know what I mean. And then we can add a heading. So that heading is what appears when we have clicked on that ID. So we've clicked on that, and now it's pulling in our title, our subheading, and our content. With the content, so you might see like these little breaks, and so these are just, so I'll quickly explain. These are just breaks within HTML. And what these can do is just add a line break in between pieces of text. So for example, you can see here quite a large gap. That's basically all they do. But if you are quite familiar with HTML and CSS, you can edit it further in this part and kind of add headings and heading ones and stuff like that. You can do all that within the data tab. Once again, we've added our column binding. So heading 1, this is going to be our main heading, our title. The heading 2, that's kind of going to be our subtitle. And then the content we've included there. And so going back to the SVG, the things you can include within this template, you can include images. So similarly, you can include just an image into, so we've just uploaded the image and then given a link to that image. But once again, you can just link it to an image online. And we're just giving it some kind of width and height, just so we make sure it doesn't kind of overwhelm the page. You can also include charts that you have already created in Flourish, which is incredibly useful if you kind of want to have something that would then be able to bring in your existing visualizations. And to do that, you would just, so as I mentioned here with the exporting, so if I just quickly publish this, if I go to the iframe, I would just copy this link and include that into our content tab. It will then pull in that visualization. So that is exactly how that is being pulled in. It's by using that iframe from the export option that you get when you export a visualization. You can also include your content-based visualization. So Helena kindly included my best hikes, my top 10 best hikes on the cards template. So you can include your content that you create from all this information I'm giving you today. And you can also include stories, which I'm going to show you in a bit with the 3D model template, just because it really works well. And Flourish stories, you may have used them, you may have not. I'll just quickly go through them in a bit. But yeah, you can include stories as well. The options we have here, so to actually upload the SVG file, you will actually want to just click that little button. So similar to the photo slider, we've just uploaded our SVG file from our documents and given it an image width. So I could change this bit bigger so it appears bigger. And we also have this option to have a different mobile view. And so if I go on here, it will change the way that the mobile view is displayed. So with the mobile content mode, we can still make it interactive, so people would have to click on it, or we can just show it all so that people won't really need to interact with it as much. And the accordion, so that's just a view where if people click on it, it will drop down and they'll be able to see the content in that. This breakpoint is so that is the pixels. So once a device gets to this amount of pixels, it will go to the mobile view. So yeah, that's how that works. And the image on the mobile, you can put it as different. So if you have a different file, like a smaller SVG, you can include that there, or like an adapted one, and you can kind of do exactly what we did with the height here, with the image width. And just apply it for a mobile view. So I'm just going to keep it the same because it's already pretty much condensed it to a nice way. So the animation, this is what's making these little kind of highlight and flash. So we can turn them off if we want to, but then it doesn't make it quite as aware of people can click on them. So I'm just going to keep it on. You can use the advanced options as well, and there's a little link in there which can help you with more details. I don't really mess with this just because I quite like the animation that's already existing in Flourish, so I kind of just leave that unclicked. The text, so this text is what appears here. This is kind of like an introduction piece that you can do and enter there. And once again, you have your default heading, your default subheading, and another default subheading. And you can change the size of these. So this could technically be your text. So you can see that we've used the text here. You can also use code in these bits. So how we've added the breaks in here, you can then include pieces of code within this part as well. And the advanced as well. So once again, you can go a bit deeper into the CSS if you want to. So for example, Helena here is like with one of the text blocks, she's kind of given it a bit more of a padding and a margin on there. So you can do small things like that. With the override fonts in SVG, so this, if I, for example, change this to yours, it's not a different font. Try this one. There we go. So you can see here that the font has changed, and that's just because we've clicked on this. So we wanted to override the fonts in SVG. So you can see here that the fonts have all changed. I mean, I could have just clicked on layouts. Let me do that. Merriweather. So you can see here that all of the fonts are changing accordingly. And then similarly, we've got all the same settings that you have on each of those on all of our templates. So that's how you change the header and stuff on that one. The next premium template, so this is also a premium template. This is our 3D model viewer. So you can add 3D models in GLTF, OBGs, or FBX formats. Can't lie, I'm not the biggest knowledge expert on 3D models, so we have given you a link to like good sources where you can get 3D models from. And you can also add annotations. So this is where the Flourish Stories kind of comes into play. Okay, so we have here our little coronavirus molecule. I know, how disgusting. And so we can see here all of the little molecules and the, I don't know what they are. I was awful at science in school. I'm not even going to try and think of what they are because I know I won't get it right. But essentially, to bring this file in, we've just uploaded it as we did just before in the SVG annotator. And in the photo slider, we've just uploaded the file from our computer. We can normalize the scale. So if I just quickly zoom out, I believe this, it just fits within a box. So you can click to change that. We can align it to the center, so when it gets automatically pulled up, it will just align it to the center. And we can also give it a different scale, so as I'm increasing this, it will go bigger like that. So that's automatically, so if I refresh this now, it will automatically appear at that scale. So I'm just going to put it back to 1. The environment map, so with this, we can kind of give it different nice kind of hues and shades. Rooftop night, so it just kind of gives it a different ambience. We can also change it for a gradient if you wanted to, or could even upload a different kind of hue and JPEG if we wanted to. So yeah, that's a nice way how you can change the background of it all. And you can just add a basic color as well if you wanted to. And so we can make it red if you wanted to, or you could even have it transparent. So if you did just want to embed this onto a web page, like right aligned or left aligned, and have text next to it, it will just appear with this coronavirus molecule, and it will take the background of your web page. The camera and controls, so you can disable the user interaction, which means they won't be able to click on it anymore or move it around. And this is quite useful if you have it in a story mode, which I'll show you in a moment. Require command and control to zoom when scrolling. So this means that people would have to press command or control on the keyboard and do that. Allow it full screen, so if I can't zoom in any more than that. And you can change your kind of initial camera position, so you can free look and stuff like that. And the control size, I don't know what that actually, oh, is it down here? Yeah, I believe it's like this part here. Okay, and the animation, the camera, transition, duration, I believe this is when we include it in a story. So I'm going to quickly show you that now. Here, perfect. So with the 3D model template, sorry, you can add annotations similar to how you can add annotations on a number of our different templates. So this can make it really, really useful with the 3D model template to kind of, so the spike proteins, see, I would never have said that. I didn't know they were that. So I'm even learning something now. So you can add annotations to kind of really let your user know what each part of your kind of 3D model template is. So in this case, we can really tell people what each of the molecules and stuff are and the different parts of it. And when we go to the next slide, it will then tell us a new piece of information, and the annotations are added just by this little pencil icon here. So we click on that and we can click anywhere to add a new annotation. So I'm going to click there. I'm going to put no, this is a protein. I'm very proud that I now know that is. And you can change how it appears around it. So you can add a little circle if you want to, a square, or keep it as a little dot, or you can even have none if you kind of want to go with that. You can have it as it always shows, only so that the annotations always show, and that they only appear on desktop. So if I go onto the mobile view, that one now doesn't pop up. Or you can have it just appear on mobile, or when you go onto mobile, it will pop up as a little speech bubble. I'm going to go back to the full preview, and you can also change the connector type, so you can have it as a little kind of step, a straight line, or a speech bubble. And then you can go into the advanced where you change the text size, the width, and the colors. But yeah, so if I just go quickly into this view here, so I'm going to, it's because I accidentally just moved that one there, so I'm just going to move it back. But basically with the stories, it will keep the state that you choose within these slides. And so I'm just going to quickly delete that annotation because I want to actually move it. I guess I'm not. I guess I'm just going to keep it there for a moment. And so it keeps the state. So when you include these little annotations, it will go on. It will stay on the state that you've chosen. And if I go on to the next one, it's telling us that that is an M protein there. So that's where stories can come in really, really useful for this template. Okay. And I think I have one more to go over. This meeting is until 4:30, I believe, but it shouldn't take that long now. I have one more template to show you. I just really wanted to go in depth with them. Is it till past?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Perfect. So we'll have time for questions and everything. That's wonderful. Okay. Okay. So our final template that I'm going to show you is our draw the line template. Once again, this is a premium template, so I've given you the link here. This one works very similarly to how you would update your data, upload your data within the line bar pie template. It gives the option to add different messages when the user has guessed, and it really engages your audiences to dive into the data themselves. And so I'm just going to open this link for our example. So this is one that the one that we worked on with a company, and so this is 1 million cases. So we kind of wanted a user to draw the line for how many cases they believe I'm guessing it's coronavirus cases, yeah, how much it grows. And so what we can do here is we can allow people to draw the line on where they think the coronavirus cases went. So I'm going to draw it up to there. Then I'm going to click down on check results. And there we go. Once we've checked the results, it then pops up with this here, with our little kind of answer and result. So I'm just going to quickly show you how the data works. So we have our time data here. So very similar to how the line bar pie templates work. We include it just like we would in those. But obviously you can have actually multiple lines if you have multiple lines that you want people to guess. In this case, we only have the one, so that's actually makes it a lot easier for us. But just so you know, you can include more than one. So for example, if you wanted one to be always visible, so if I just quickly duplicate this, so if I just insert a column to the right and then copy and paste that there, and now I want this line to be always visible. Obviously it kind of gives away the answer, but that's fine. But you know what I mean, in any sort of certain case, this is kind of could be a baseline of something or a projection of where you want the data to be in the end. I'm just going to get rid of that again. With the value that you want people to guess, you will include that here or in column A, whichever one, just bind it to the relevant one. And on the x-axis, you will want to bind that one in the time x-axis. So in our case, it's the date. Okay, and so with the lines in our settings panel, so I'm just going to change this to the World Bank again, just to make it, 1 second, there we go. So it's gone to your branding now. So we have these guessable lines, and so from the data tab, it is pulling in what line we want people to guess. With a percentage to reveal, we can have this as 30, and it wouldn't give people so much of a line that they already have. So if you want to make it a bit more difficult, you can really kind of put them to the test and make it shorter, or you can make it longer. I'm going to put it back to 60. You can change the width of the line, so you can make it thicker, you can make it a bit smaller. The dot radius, once again, you can make those a bit larger. And the drawing dash, oh, so that's here, sorry. So that's here. So the dot radius, when we're drawing, it would change here. And with the drawing dash size, so that would be, as you can see, they're changing as I up them. Then take it right back down. And similar to the settings within our line bar pie template with the line charts, they have different line types, so you can have it curved, straight, or stepped. The text and results, so this is where the settings come in for here. So when I press check results, It adds this area just to show where you were and where the actual line goes. And so we add our draw the line text. So if I just quickly refresh it, this is being pulled in from our messages text. And the submit text, is being pulled here. And then when we have created the line, I'm just going to quickly turn that back to a curve. That looks much better. I'm just going to quickly make that curve line. So the check results box is being pulled in from the submit text. And then if we have a percentage error of 5%, and it says, unfortunately, you're right. So you can add in how far you want to kind of give your users kind of the ability to be wrong. So a good result here, we've put a 10%. And then we give them a little option of you're not too far off. An okay result, and then the poor result, if they've just done absolutely awful and there's no kind of sugarcoating it, you'll put in the text there of it, and it will pop up there. The colours, so very similar to all of our templates, and especially the line bar pie, it will just have the palette, so it's already pulled in yours. And this one is just essentially very similar to the line bar pie. So you can change the way that your x-axis appears and your y-axis appears. You can change that all here. And the chart background, the number and date formatting. So for example, we've just wanted to change our format in the data sheet. So we just put in what format it was and we want it to display as that. The layout, the header, footer, everything like that. But this is the draw the line template, and it's really, really fun to kind of get your audience really engaged. Okay, so those are all the templates. I'll just quickly give you a list of resources. I'm also going to add Figma into here, just in case any of you are really interested in the SVG annotator template. I will include that in here just so you kind of remember where to go. But to start with, we have the Flourish help docs. These are specific help and FAQs on the Flourish template. So as I mentioned before, if you go on to any of our templates, there we go, click on this little button here and it will give you a list of our templates, of our help docs to each template. We also have the Flourish blog, and we update this regularly, and it kind of just gives fun ways on how you can really enhance certain templates, how you can enhance your data. We also have a series at the moment called the Master Series, and we kind of recreate visualizations by really kind of impressionable people within the data viz world. And other features that we're also uploading, those can be found on the blog. We have the newsletter, which kind of gives you more information on each of the features, what we've been doing behind the scenes, things like that. We have the FT visual vocabulary, which is really useful for if you're not too sure what template to use for your data. Go to the FT visual vocabulary and it will kind of give you a matchup of what data you have and then which visualization template will be best. The map shaper, that's really useful if you want to simplify your maps, if you want to convert the file, and obviously I'll include the Figma one there. So thank you. Does anybody